project, the profile research for the 42 soldiers who enlisted for World War I from the Upper Chapman District and sadly did not return to their loved ones, has been undertaken by Society members Mrs Jenny MacKay and Dr John Sharpen. Jenny will now provide you with an overview of the project. Please welcome Jenny.
Welcome on this beautiful spring day. The gods are looking after us that it doesn't rain on us. 5 o'clock tonight, Heather, we can have it rain. Is that okay? All right. In the lead up to the centenary of Anzac, we have been travelling around in our caravan and visited many museums, as you do. I noticed that there had been a lot of World War I displays, and I thought, oh, that'd be really good to do something like that at the Chapman Valley Museum. However, when I came back, there was so much already going on that it was something we just had to put aside. However, in October of 2015, Pam Batten and myself visited the Carnarvon precinct for their museum's WWI meeting, and we saw a display up there, and then Pam knew what I'd been on about. So at the November meeting of the Historical Society, Pam suggested we could perhaps put something along these new paths to commemorate the centenary of Anzac. I was very quick to put up my hand along with others, and we formed a new project committee. At our first committee meeting, we decided to start with the first Anzacs, those from World War I. Over 150 men had enlisted from this district. However, we chose to honour the fallen, as it would take a lot more time and researchers to extract all that information. And thankfully to the National Archives, they've actually digitised all those World War I records for us, so we're able to get into those and pull all that information out. There are 36 names on the memorial at the Naval War Cemetery of soldiers who had fallen from the Upper Chapman District, now known as Chapman Valley. Our first task was to identify each soldier, as the memorial only listed a surname and initials. There were spelling errors, and often the initial was a nickname or a second name, so it was a task. Then we extracted their service history. It was a very time-consuming task. However, 6 months into the research, divine intervention, or call it what you will, someone challenged me to look further into those names on the honour boards. How do you know all those names have been recorded correctly? They do get things wrong, you know. What if you miss someone out? And what about those who came back? Well, I couldn't leave it at that. There are 3 district honour boards in the district, listing only names and initials. They were checked and cross-checked and cross-checked again against the Australian War Memorial, the National Archives of Australia, the Commonwealth War Graves Commission and various other websites. And I found that indeed there were another 6 soldiers who had paid the ultimate sacrifice and unfortunately were not on the memorial at Naval. Some on the honour boards do not have that elusive asterisk next to their name, which also indicated that they had paid the sacrifice. We have now added those names to this wonderful tribute that you see here behind me. The fallen soldiers of Chapman Valley District now totalled 42. So you might be asking yourself, well, why were those names missing? We need to understand the criteria for inclusion, which was determined by those creating the memorial, and they did vary. Sometimes they listed just those who were born in the district, or sometimes it was just those who enlisted from the district. Or it could be the veterans who came to work here and live after the war, and they wanted the names of their comrades who fell beside them. In some cases, an individual could be named on more than one honour board or memorial. One would have to be a very hard person not to feel any emotion when researching soldiers' records. However, it became necessary for me to lock my heart away and focus on the task at hand. We saw many graphic images of gross injuries and read reports of the devastating effect caused by chemicals such as mustard gas and chlorine. Trench fever from body lice that was easily spread from one soldier to another, causing sores all over their bodies. Trenched feet, from standing in cold, damp conditions, sometimes in mud, up to their knees. The women back home were madly knitting socks and beanies to keep the troops warm and dry. We also saw graphic images of the horses, up to their bellies in mud, pulling those heavy guns along, many too exhausted to continue on. Swarms of flies would carry infection from refuse, the latrines, and rotting corpses to their food being eaten from unwashed mess tins. Disease was just as much a threat to the troops as was the enemy. 3 soldiers from Chapman Valley died of disease. One soldier wrote, "The guns just bang away incessantly. That noise is deafening. I hope this warfare will soon end." That letter was written in 1915. Another wrote, "We realised that when bullets hit you and hurt, that's when we knew what fear was." These conditions all took their toll. Some of those that ended up in hospital from an illness or were wounded returned to their units on the front line and suddenly found their lives cut short. 1917, 100 years ago this year, on the Western Front, was the worst year for the Allies. 22 of our Chapman Valley soldiers died in that one bloody year. On the 11th of April 1917, at the Battle of Bullecourt in France, over 3,000 Australians died. 4 of our lads also died on that one day. A brother was taken a prisoner of war and died 2 days later from his wounds. The Geraldton Guardian wrote on May the 1st, 1926, at the unveiling of the Naval War Memorial, the proportion of those who fell was very high. The Commonwealth average is 1 in 6. Chapman Valley was 1 in 3. The youngest to enlist from Chapman Valley was 18, and the oldest was 40. Most were in their 20s, 3 were married with children. 17 have no known grave. I'll let you ponder why that was. Of the 60,000 Australians killed in the Great War, 1/3 were listed as missing. We read heartfelt letters from mothers to the authorities asking them to check the prisoner of war records, the hospital records for their sons. Unfortunately, many were not going to come home. Overseas war cemeteries have headstones with Kipling's words, "A soldier of the Great War, known unto God." In the killing of such large numbers of able-bodied men and women, the war prevented them from having their own families and generating a stronger Australia. We also wish to pay our respects to those who did return. Their challenge was to come back into the community and pick up where they left off. Their lives were forever touched by that dreadful conflict, as any conflict touches everyone. Many suffered depression, remained single and mourned the loss of their loved ones. Others were physically and mentally incapacitated with daily needs. Many were able to resume civilian lives, gain employment, get married and have families. It is these combatants that we also remember today, as no family was left untouched. A new board has been added inside the museum on the east wall with 154 names of those who were associated with this district and enlisted in World War I. The best tribute that we can pay to those who served is to remember them. This tribute is also dedicated to those who served and those who continue to serve this country. We would like to thank everyone who has helped in any way to build this tribute. To the families of the soldiers, thank you so much for your support, offering photographs and information. I hope we have made your boys proud. Sandra Pale, for your military contacts, both here and overseas, for the photographs of the headstones that we would not have had if it wasn't for your contacts, thank you very much. And thank you for your advice and your encouragement to give me a boost when I was probably feeling a bit down. Sandra is also creating a database of the WA enlistments, because there's been no exact number of how many left from Western Australia alone. So that is something that she's doing at the moment. To the Burwood Military Museum, Irwin and District's Historical Society and the Northampton RSL for helping to identify names and gather photographs of our soldiers. To both the Geraldton and the Northampton RSLs for your support when we were applying for the grant to build this tribute. The Shire of Chapman Valley, thank you for supporting us in this worthwhile project, which I'm sure will bring many visitors to the district. To Lottery West for providing the grant. So just remember, when you buy a lotto ticket, the proceeds from those tickets go to helping non-profit organisations such as ours. The Department of Corrective Services, along with the Central Regional TAFE, thank you. We hope the work on this project has given the lads a sense of achievement. To the members of the Chapman Valley Historical Society, thank you for encouraging and supporting the project committee, and a special thanks to those who did the proofreading. What a mammoth task that was. Dotting I's, crossing T's, putting commas in, taking it out. No, that doesn't read right. What about this? How many times did we say that this was bigger than Ben-Hur? Pam Batten, thank you for your tireless work in pulling this day together. It's really very much appreciated. No dotting of I's, but I think you crossed off a lot of things off your list. To the Fallen Soldiers Project Committee, John, Val, Kevin, Margaret and Eric, who collectively came up with the idea for this tribute. Dr. John Chapman, who was by my side all the way. We worked many hours together to bring this information in the format that you see here today. Thanks, John. You will notice on each profile there is a signature that has been clipped from the soldiers' enlistment papers when they signed on. They've now signed off. I'm very proud to stand here today and pay tribute to the fallen soldiers from World War I, the Upper Chapman District. You gave up your today for our tomorrow. A duty nobly done. Thank you.